This is Dr. K in Omaha, Nebraska. This is volume 2 of the series related to the Go for the Gold book, which I just published a month ago. And today we're going to talk about some of the most important concepts in turf racing. So let's get right to it. All of these seminars are only going to be 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. And the book, of course, covers these in a lot more detail, but we're going to have about 50 videos in total. So let's go to the very first concept, which is you really need to know more than anything else in turf racing what the true condition of the track is today. Is the turf hard baked, meaning they haven't had rain for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or not very much at all, at least, so that it plays a lot like a dirt track? Secondly, have they had a little bit of rain in the interim over the last week or so that it plays more like a firm track, so that closers can get there, though it's difficult for them, but pressers and early speed would predominate. And of course, on the hard-baked track, it plays like a dirt course in the sense of when they haven't had rain and it's dirt fast, you better be an E, you better be a P, and if you're anywhere far back, you literally have no chance of getting there. Or is this a soft track where they've had enough rain lately where, again, anything can happen on a soft track? Sometimes they go out in these such slow pedestrian paces that front runners actually win. You never really know what's going to happen on soft turf, but it's always good to know whether horses have done well on soft turf before. So what you're really trying to do ultimately is, by knowing what the true track condition is, you're trying to figure out what the track bias is. Is it friendly just to front runners? Can pressers get there? Can ones that are 5 or 6 lengths get there, or can you come from further back? You need to know where the winners are coming from, particularly among good horses, allowance horses, maiden horses, and the stakes races. The maiden claimers I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in terms of putting together a track profile, which is something I'll show you how to do in the near future. But you really need to know, you have to know and have a good opinion about what today's track condition is. Is it hard baked, is it firm, or is it off? You got to figure that out first and foremost. And then once you figure that out, the two most important concepts mathematically, and this is not going to be a math test, are the middle fraction, which is if it's a 6 furlong race on the turf, from the second fraction or the second furlong pole to the 4 furlong pole, and then the final fraction, the come home time, would be from the 4 furlong to the finish of the 6 furlong. But every race is basically broken up into thirds. If it's a mile race, the first 4 furlongs, that's where you start the counting, from 4 to 6 furlongs, and then from 6 furlongs on home, or if you're going to mile 16th, you go another 16th beyond that. But knowing those numbers are absolutely the most important thing, because if you've got, especially the middle fraction is the fraction that everybody sort of forgets about, because a lot of the literature in the 70s, 80s, 90s focused so much on the come home time that everybody sort of forgot about the middle fraction. Well, if you have a horse who doesn't have the ability to also run a good fraction, he's a closer, he's not going to get there. Maybe he runs second, maybe he runs third, but he's not going to win if he doesn't have both a middle fraction, which is superior, and the come home time, which is superior. But so they all work together. You got to know the track condition. You've got to know what the middle fraction is, and we can put together a scale, as we're going to do in one of the chapters coming up, and then the come home time. So you break the race down not into the first third of the race, but basically the second third and then the last third of the race. And we're going to build numbers for each of those fractions in each of those races. And then we're going to talk about how to use those. Penalizing for how far behind you are, of course. If you're running a little faster, so you're only 1 length behind, you're only penalized 1 length. If you're 10 lengths back, you deserve to be penalized 10 points. So even if you've got a faster time in a middle fraction, you still deserve to be taken back a little bit because you ran slower. You should have more energy left at that time. But the two most important concepts beyond track condition and the various times for the middle fraction and the come home have to be, does the distance fit this horse? There's a lot of horses that are great horses that can't do this distance. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to have a whole seminar dedicated just to the concept of distance. Does the distance fit for this horse in today's race. And distance and class are what I call issues of exclusion, meaning you're looking to knock horses out. You're trying to take them off the table. So even if they have great numbers, you don't care, because if they don't fit the distance, we don't want to consider them. We may consider them for how the class plays out along the way, or the pace plays out along the way, but we don't care about them ultimately winning at all if they don't have the ability to go this distance. Last, we're going to talk about today is class, and that can be a harder thing, because a lot of people will look at classy horses and think to themselves, oh, this horse ran in a grade 1. Well, he didn't run very well, so you can't really say he's necessarily a grade 1 horse. Maybe he's only been running in grade 3s, and now he's running a grade 1. Well, there's a huge difference between grade 1s and grade 3s. The difficult thing can be is if you've got a horse that's coming up from maiden, didn't necessarily beat much, even if it's in a good special weight race, such as at Churchill or especially at Saratoga, so you're not always sure how good it really is. Bill Mott's horses are probably the most famous for this. But then they get into a Lowndes Company and they're going to face horses that have also already broken their maiden, better horses already. And so then you get a better idea of how much class they have. And so that's one of the big issues in turf racing is class. A lot of people determine it wrongly, and we're going to have a whole seminar dedicated to that. So again, when you think about turf racing, just in general issues, you want to know the turf condition. Is it hard baked? Is it firm? Or is it off? Then you need to talk entirely about what the track profile is, what the bias is because of that track condition. The track profile should mirror what that track condition is. Does it favor front speed? Does it favor closers? Or can anybody win the race? But ultimately, we're going to use the 2 times, the middle fraction and the come home, to do some of our figuring on who we think are the better horses. Once we figured out whether this horse can meet the distance, and if it can't meet the distance, we're going to strike it. And does this horse have the class? And if it doesn't have the class, we're going to strike that. So we're always trying to get down to a reasonable set of horses. Maybe we start with 12, but maybe we knock 4 or 5 of them out just on class considerations or distance considerations. And now we're only talking about a 7-horse race. And then once we start talking about issues related to the numbers or issues related to the pace of the race or the track condition, then we can narrow them down even further. So what we're trying to do is start off with a large group of horses and knock horses out. And we're going to try and get down to just have maybe 1, 2, or 3 in every race. Breeders' Cup, we may go a little deeper, but we're just trying to get it down to a reasonable amount of horses that can win. And that's all we have for today. Thank you.